"Christopher, you're a disgrace to this family. Leave, you're not wanted here." Those cutting words pierced through the air, spat by my own father amidst the celebration of my brother Alex's wedding. The humiliation stung deeper as Alex remained silent, a silent accomplice to my expulsion. Anger boiled within me, ready to storm out when a plea for help interrupted my departure. A staff member, desperate in a moment of crisis, sought my aid. In that unexpected turn, my father saw me for who I truly was, and it jolted him. My name is Christopher, one of two brothers in our family. Growing up, our father, a stern lawyer, favored Alex, leaving me to perpetually chase his shadow. No moment of leisure existed in our lives. Every second was dedicated to lessons and studying. Even the simple joy of playing with friends was a luxury denied. Despite my relentless efforts to meet my father's lofty standards and match Alex's achievements, I perpetually felt inadequate, a constant disappointment to my father. The pivotal moment arrived with the entrance exam for a prestigious school, a futile attempt to win my father's approval. When I inevitably failed, my father's silence towards me solidified, his attention solely on Alex and my mother. Left to navigate the shadows of neglect, I found solace in my mother's unwavering support, but they persisted, exacerbated by Alex's indifference. Determined to forge my own path, I departed silently after high school, leaving only a note for my mother. Striking out on my own, I secured a job at a hotel where I could both work and live. It was there, amidst the bustling corridors and transient guests, that I found the freedom and fulfillment that eluded me at home. I get to focus on what I need to do, Christopher. Another mistake? How many times do I have to tell you? I'm sorry, I'll fix it right away. Get it together, Christopher. Michael, the hotel manager, was relentless in his expectations. As a mere high school graduate thrust into the real world, I constantly found myself on the receiving end of his reprimands. Yet, amidst the criticism, I persisted, striving to prove myself in this unfamiliar terrain. Unlike my father's harshness, Michael's feedback was constructive. His praise, when earned, fueled my determination to excel. A significant moment etched itself into my memory at the dawn of the new year, the busiest time for the hotel. After completing the requisite training, I was entrusted to work independently. That year, the influx of guests seemed greater than ever, stretching our resources to their limits. The chaos of serving dinner guests, either in the bustling dining hall or through room service, reached fever pitch. Despite being a novice, I tackled my duties with fervor, aware that my learning curve came at the expense of the hotel's smooth operation. Then, a minor crisis struck on New Year's Day. A colleague fell ill, leaving us short-staffed. I doubled down on my efforts, pushing myself beyond the mandated hours to keep the hotel afloat. Just when it seemed we had weathered the storm, disaster struck. The kitchen sink's pipe burst amidst the dinner rush, plunging us into chaos. With no plumber available on New Year's Day, the situation grew dire. Michael's frustration mirrored the mounting tension. In a moment of desperation, I stepped forward. "Michael, can I try fixing the plumbing? I'll sort it out." Though met with skepticism, my offer was our only hope. With a hesitant nod, Michael relented, allowing me to take charge. Unbeknownst to many, my time at a science-focused high school had equipped me with a unique set of skills, including rudimentary plumbing knowledge. Drawing on this background, I set to work. Half an hour later, the once flooded kitchen was restored to order, the crisis averted through a combination of determination and unexpected expertise. I had somehow managed to fix the pipe, I announced breathlessly to Michael. He rushed over, turning the faucet with eager anticipation. Water gushed forth, a testament to my makeshift repair. The room erupted in smiles and praise. "Great job, Christopher. You're my pride and joy," Michael declared, his words washing over me with warmth. Growing up under Michael's guidance had been a revelation. Together, we navigated the challenges of New Year's Day at the hotel, emerging victorious. The sense of fulfillment I experienced that day left an indelible mark, shaping the person I am today. 15 years flew by, and I found myself fully immersed in my role at the hotel. Then, one day, a letter arrived from Mom, breaking the silence that had settled between us. It bore news of Alex's impending marriage. Though I had drifted apart from Dad and Alex, Mom's plea for my presence at the wedding tugged at my heartstrings. Reluctantly, I agreed to attend. The venue, a luxurious hotel, mirrored Alex and Dad's penchant for extravagance. As I arrived, clad in a trusty suit, I couldn't shake the feeling of being out of place amidst the elite gathering. Perhaps Alex's bride, a woman of impeccable grace, was a product of Dad's networking or a strategic alliance. In the waiting room, surrounded by faces of high society, I found myself an outsider, observing from the periphery. With no one to engage, I became a silent observer, watching the intricate dance of privilege and power unfold before me. As I locked eyes with two familiar faces, a sense of unease settled within me. His expression was unmistakably displeased. Dad and Alex approached, their presence looming over me. "Why are you here?" Dad's voice, deep and commanding, echoed through the air, stirring memories long buried. "Is it so wrong to celebrate Alex's wedding?" "Oh, by the way, congrats, Alex," I replied, trying to diffuse the tension. Alex's response was muted, his conflicted expression betraying the strain of our family dynamics. "What have you been up to all these years?" No doubt some worthless job, and his words cut through the air like a knife, his disdain palpable. "Christopher, you shouldn't be here," he continued, his tone dripping with contempt. Mom rushed over, attempting to intercede. "Come on, Christopher is here to celebrate. No need to be so harsh," she pleaded, her desperation evident. But her efforts were futile, drowned out by Dad's unwavering judgment. "Enough, Mom," Dad asserted, his voice a thunderous decree. "Christopher, let me make this clear. You're a disgrace. I don't want you ruining Alex's celebration. Get out." Anger surged within me, fueled by years of neglect and rejection. I hadn't wanted to come to Alex's wedding, and yet I found myself subjected to this humiliation. "Fine, I'm leaving," I declared, my resolve firm. As I turned to exit the waiting room, a voice called out, halting my retreat. A wedding staff member approached, urgency etched on their face. "What's up?" I inquired, curiosity mingling with frustration. "It seems we have an unexpected guest for today's wedding. We're short on seats and food," they explained hurriedly, their concern evident. Everyone in the waiting room looks worried. Emily, the planner, and the parents-in-law staff, their faces etched with concern, awaited a solution. Caught between indignation and duty, I hesitated, uncertain of my next move. "I see. Is that what's going on? Emily can't handle it alone, and they're asking for my help. But what does this have to do with me?" I pondered, a torrent of grievances against Dad and Alex swirling within me. Yet amidst the resentment, memories from the past surfaced, softening my resolve. Recollections of Alex's kindness flooded my mind, the times he made space for play during our study breaks. If I walked away now, I'd be no better than Dad. With a determined sigh, I turned back to the wedding staff. "Can you take me to Emily?" I requested, a flicker of resolve in my voice. The staff member's face softened, and I followed them back into the waiting room, reclaiming the ground from which I had been expelled moments before. In the center of the room, Emily, Dad, and the bride's father wore expressions of concern. As I approached, Dad's eyes locked with mine, his demeanor bristling with hostility. "Why has Christopher returned?" he demanded, his tone sharp. Before he could escalate the confrontation, Emily intervened. "General Manager, please help us," she implored, her urgency palpable. Dad's shock was evident as I calmly revealed my position as the general manager of the hotel chain. Since joining the company during its nascent stages, we had expanded to hotels and wedding venues nationwide. The very hotel we stood in was under my oversight. "I think I can handle this," I assured them, dismissing Dad's protests with a wave of my hand. "Dad, I'm busy right now. We'll talk later." With a sense of purpose, I turned to Emily. "Relax, Emily. Get the seats and everything else ready. I'll take care of the food," I directed, watching as the tension ebbed from her features. "Understood. I'll leave the food to the general manager and handle the rest," she affirmed before rushing off to execute the plan. With all eyes on me, I exited the room and sought out my friend, Chef Jackson. "Hey, you here?" I called out as he emerged from the kitchen. "Christopher, what brings you here?" he inquired, his curiosity piqued. "I'm here as a guest today. My brother's wedding is happening here, but we're one meal short. Can you help?" I asked Chef Jackson, hoping for a quick fix. "Sure thing. I'll whip something up with my culinary skills," he replied confidently. "Much appreciated. I owe you dinner. Looking forward to it," I replied gratefully. After handling a few loose ends, I returned to the waiting room. The guests had already moved to the ceremony area, leaving only my parents and the bride's parents behind. As I announced the issue was resolved, relief washed over the room. "We've got an extra meal coming," I explained, seeing the tension ease from my mom's and the bride's parents' faces. My dad, however, remained conflicted, his pride evident. "Christopher, thank you so much. Because of you, the celebration can go on successfully," my dad acknowledged, his gratitude genuine. "It's all in a day's work as a general manager," I replied with a smile, leading the way into the ceremony hall. As the lights dimmed and the groom and bride made their entrance, I couldn't help but marvel at their radiant presence. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, and as mealtime arrived, I ensured everyone was served before finally exhaling a sigh of relief. With the ceremony concluded, I engaged in a heartfelt conversation with both families, sharing their gratitude towards me, especially from the bride's family, who thanked me profusely. "These moments are why I love my job," I admitted sincerely as their expressions of gratitude warmed my heart. "Christopher, thank you so much. We had the best day ever, all thanks to you," they expressed with genuine appreciation. "No worries. Wishing you all the happiness in the world. Thank you so much," I replied warmly before turning to face my dad and Alex. "Christopher, you did wonderfully. Thank you," my mom praised, her words filled with pride. Dad and Alex wanted to speak with me. As Alex apologized first, expressing gratitude for my assistance, I couldn't help but smile. "As long as I could help, Alex, it's all good," I reassured him before turning to Dad, who remained silent. With a sense of closure, I accepted their gratitude, knowing that despite our differences, we could find common ground. Just then, my cell phone buzzed, signaling more work awaiting me at the hotel in the next town over. Looks like more work, but hey, I enjoy it, so no complaints. "All right, I'm off. Got work to do. You two take care," I bid farewell, ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead. It was a realization settling in. I probably wouldn't see Alex or Dad again. With that thought lingering, I left the room without a backward glance, my steps leading me back to work. 3 days post Alex's wedding, I relished a rare day off, reclining on the sofa with a steaming cup of coffee, my moment of bliss abruptly interrupted by the doorbell's chime. Curious as to the visitor's identity, I made my way to the door, only to be met with Alex's unexpected presence. "Alex, what brings you here?" I inquired, surprised by his appearance. "Sorry, I got your address from Mom. Wanted to talk to you, Christopher," Alex explained, his tone tentative. I welcomed him in, brushing off any concerns about the tidiness of my home. As I poured him a cup of coffee, Alex expressed gratitude, taking a slow sip. "Thank you. Smells good," he remarked, attempting a smile. As we settled into conversation, Alex's demeanor shifted, his gaze unwavering as he broached the topic at hand. The next moment he apologized, I recalled, puzzled by his sudden change in tone. "I'm really sorry for everything," he admitted, catching me off guard. Initially taken aback by his unexpected apology, I struggled to comprehend his motive for making the trip in person. "Hey, it's all right, Alex," I reassured him, attempting to alleviate any tension. But Alex wasn't done yet. With a sense of vulnerability, he began to share his innermost thoughts and feelings. "You might think I'm the older brother who can do anything, but I envy you, Christopher," he confessed, his words striking a chord. Silence enveloped the room as Alex's confession hung in the air, leaving me at a loss for words. His admission took me by surprise, shattering preconceived notions and revealing a side of him I had never seen. "I had no idea you felt that way, Alex," I admitted, a twinge of guilt gnawing at me as I processed his revelation. "That's just it. It's not your fault, Christopher," Alex reassured me, his weak smile betraying a depth of emotion. In that moment, a sense of understanding washed over me, bridging the gap between us. "Alex, I'm sorry. I never considered that you were struggling too," I confessed, my own remorse surfacing. My brother's smile, though faint, spoke volumes. "That's just it. It's not your fault, Christopher," he reassured me, his words echoing in the quiet room. With a newfound sense of empathy and connection, we found the words to express what had long been left unsaid, strengthening the bond between us. "I think you've been through struggles I can't even imagine. I truly admire that. But I also want you to know about me," I confessed to Alex, feeling the weight of my words as they hung in the air. Taking a deep breath, I paused, gathering my thoughts before continuing. Alex listened intently, his silence encouraging me to share more. Breaking away from our parents and becoming independent wasn't easy either. The beginning was really tough, I admitted, recognizing the parallel struggles we both faced. It's true, we both have our share of hardships, Alex acknowledged, his response genuine. It was clear that he had more to say, but I found myself at a loss for words, unsure of how to offer guidance or reassurance. Unable to conjure up wise counsel, I spoke from the heart. To be honest, I think you should do what you really want to do, Alex, without worrying about Dad, I suggested, hoping to offer him some semblance of clarity amidst his inner turmoil. As Alex absorbed my words, a sense of relief washed over him. You're right, Christopher. You've helped clear up my inner turmoil. Thank you, he expressed, gratitude evident in his tone. No, thank you, Alex, for coming over, I replied sincerely, accompanying him to the door as he departed with a promise to return for coffee. A month later, a letter arrived from Alex, detailing his decision to leave behind his career as a lawyer in pursuit of his passion for glass craftsmanship. Despite facing disapproval from Dad, Alex found solace in the support of his wife and newfound motivation in his chosen path. As I reflected on Alex's journey and our evolving family dynamics, I couldn't help but feel a sense of pride in the bond between siblings. Lost in thought, the sound of my mobile phone's alarm jolted me back to reality, signaling the start of another day on the path I had chosen, in the job I had embraced. You won a trip to the Caribbean in a sweepstakes. Well, if that's the case, Mommy and I are going. You're staying behind. Got it. If not, we're getting divorced, Andrew declared, his threat of divorce hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. His mother, standing beside him, wore a smirk of triumph, relishing the moment. I couldn't let this blatant manipulation slide. No, I would concoct my own special revenge against this conniving mother-son duo. My name is Lillian, aged 32, just your average working mother at some nondescript company. Andrew and I had been married for 2 years. I had stumbled upon him, 2 years my senior, through a mutual acquaintance. Romance was never my forte. I hadn't dated much during college and my post-graduation relationships hadn't panned out. Before I knew it, I was 30, and my concerned parents had begun seeking potential matches for me. Andrew appeared on the scene, a composed and caring individual with a strong devotion to his parents, a trait that resonated with my own values. Thinking perhaps I could forge a connection with him, I agreed to marry him. Our wedding was a smooth affair, celebrated by many, and initially, our union seemed to be pure bliss. About 6 months into our marriage, my phone began to ring incessantly, each call bearing Andrew's name. With a sense of urgency, I returned his call, only to be met with his strained voice on the other end. Please try to stay calm, he began, his words heavy with distress. It's about Dad. Something's happened to Alfred. He collapsed at home and has been rushed to the hospital. And then, it hit me like a wave. The sudden news of my father-in-law's passing was unfathomable. He had always been the epitome of health. The shock was palpable, not just for me, but for everyone involved. Following Alfred's passing, Andrew's attention shifted drastically towards his now solitary mother. He became excessively attentive, visiting her daily, sharing meals or accompanying her on shopping trips. He even took special leave to embark on a trip with her. It wasn't that he neglected me, but whenever our plans clashed, his priority was always her. Sorry, Lillian, Mom just called and she needs me, he would say apologetically. But we had plans, I'd protest, feeling the sting of disappointment. She's feeling alone, he'd reason. You don't mind, do you? You can go to the movies alone, can't you? I'm fine, I'd reply, though inwardly resentment brewed. Why was I the one being held accountable? Wasn't Matilda the one making demands? Regardless of Andrew's apparent devotion to his lonely mother-in-law, it's evident that he's a mama's boy. Yet aside from this recurrent issue with his mom, our marriage was tolerable. I presume this was simply the norm for married life. My personal refuge. Solving crossword puzzles with enticing prizes. They provided solace whenever Andrew abandoned me for Matilda, and occasionally, I'd score gift cards or delectable treats. Then came the day I clinched a pair of tickets to the Caribbean, the grandest prize I'd ever won. I meticulously verified my victory multiple times, consumed by exhilaration. The tickets necessitated specifying the travel companions before contacting the airline. Contemplating who to bring, Andrew naturally came to mind, but hesitations lingered. He often jetted off with Matilda, and if I proposed the trip together, she might insist on tagging along. After careful deliberation, I resolved to gift the trip to my parents. As I made my way home, I swung by my parents' place to share the thrilling news. Mom, guess what? I've won tickets to the Caribbean, I announced, brimming with excitement. Oh goodness, that's wonderful news. You and Andrew must be thrilled, Mom responded, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Not quite, I replied with a grin. I've decided to give them to you and Dad. To us. Are you sure? Mom exclaimed, clearly taken aback. Absolutely. Andrew's always traveling, but I want you two to have this experience, I reassured her. Thank you, Lillian. We're beyond grateful, Mom beamed, her excitement palpable. Dad, however, appeared deep in thought. Dad seems troubled, I observed. Well, work's been hectic lately. It's not the best time for me to be away, Dad explained with a furrowed brow. That's unfortunate, I acknowledged. Then Dad suggested, why not take Olivia instead? After all, it was your prize originally, wasn't it? Enjoy some quality time together. Mom's face lit up at the idea. That sounds lovely. Feeling elated and increasingly excited, I applied for leave the next day, which was promptly approved. I wasted no time contacting the airline to arrange for my parents to use the tickets. On my way home from work, I stopped by a bookstore and purchased a guidebook for the Caribbean trip. It had been far too long since Mom and I had gone on an adventure together, and I couldn't wait to make new memories. But upon arriving home, I was met with an unexpected sight. I'm home, I called out upon entering, expecting to find Andrew, but instead discovering the house illuminated by lights. Oddly, there were women's shoes at the entrance rather than Andrew's. Contemplating this, I was met with the sight of Matilda as she swung open the living room door. Lillian, do you have any idea what time it is? She scolded. Oh, Matilda, I didn't realize you were here, I responded, taken aback. It's not just about me being here. Coming home this late, what have you been up to? Andrew will be back any minute now, she continued, her tone accusatory. I'm sorry, I'll start dinner right away, I offered, hoping to diffuse the tension. It's not just about dinner, is it? Making the bed is basic common sense for a daughter-in-law. Do you even take your role seriously? Matilda questioned sharply. I apologize if things have fallen short because of my work. Perhaps you should consider being more dedicated to your home, I retorted, feeling the weight of her disapproval. With Matilda living nearby and holding a spare key, her unannounced visits were a regular occurrence. Embracing traditional beliefs about a daughter-in-law's duties, she clearly disapproved of my full-time job. Her constant nitpicking and criticism made it difficult for me to warm up to her. As I began preparing dinner, Matilda suddenly exclaimed, Hold on. What's this, Lillian? Are you planning a trip to the Caribbean? Surprised, she had unearthed the newly purchased guidebook from my bag. Matilda, why are you going through my things? I protested. That's beside the point. What's this about the Caribbean? She demanded, her tone sharp. I had won the trip in a sweepstakes, intending to gift it to Mom. I hadn't mentioned it to anyone yet. Our argument was abruptly halted by Andrew's arrival. Matilda rushed to him, pointing an accusatory finger in my direction. Andrew, listen to this. Lillian's been utterly thoughtless. What's going on, Mom? Did Lillian pull one of her stunts again? A Caribbean trip, planning to give it to Olivia without even consulting me. What Caribbean trip? This is news to me too, Andrew demanded, glaring at me. It's quite simple. I won the trip and thought of giving it to my parents. But since Dad can't go, you're going with Olivia, I explained calmly. Yeah, so what's the problem? You're always traveling with Matilda, Andrew retorted. It's not the same. Mom and I only go on domestic trips. We haven't been abroad in years. How could you decide this without even talking to me? It's my prize. Why should I have to? I protested, feeling my frustration rise. Andrew slammed his hand on the table, cutting me off. You're getting too bold for a daughter-in-law. Mommy and I are going. You'll stay home. Mommy? I couldn't hide the disdain in my voice at Andrew's juvenile choice of words. Wait a minute. This trip, you've had enough of it. If you're not happy, let's talk about divorce, Andrew declared sharply. What divorce? I was taken aback, unable to comprehend his extreme reaction. Threatening divorce over something so trivial seemed absurd. Fueled by anger, I fired back. I earned this trip fair and square. I've already made up my mind to gift it to my own mother. Can't you pick up on the signals for once? Mom wants to go. Where does it end with prioritizing Matilda? You never take my feelings into consideration. I don't care how you feel. Like I said, this trip is for Mommy and me. Stay home and behave. Andrew dismissed me coldly. My affection for Andrew waned rapidly in that moment. It was clear that in his eyes I ranked lower than Matilda. I couldn't continue to tolerate this absurd dynamic between the two of them. Keeping my composure, I told Andrew, "Fine. Do as you please and enjoy your trip." "Humph, you should have listened to reason from the beginning." "Suit yourself." Always being argumentative, Andrew huffed in response. The Andrew I once knew, kind and understanding, seemed to have vanished, and there was Matilda, wearing a smug smirk of victory. It was then that I made up my mind to leave the house while they were away on their trip. I resolved to let Andrew and Matilda have this time together. The following day, I reached out to the airline to inform them of the change in travelers, substituting Andrew and my mother-in-law. However, the operator's response carried a note of concern. "I'm sorry, but once the participants are confirmed, we're unable to modify them," they explained. "Is that so?" I inquired, a sinking feeling settling in. "Yes. Additionally, this airline ticket stipulates that the original winner must be present. If your husband and mother-in-law are listed, the ticket will be rendered invalid," the operator clarified. "So, if I don't go, the ticket serves no purpose," I confirmed. "Correct. Please refer to the documents we provided, outlining this specific condition," they advised. Upon reviewing the documents, I discovered a clear statement. Only the winner was authorized to use the ticket, and it was non-transferable. Relaying this information to the operator, I made the decision to decline the trip without informing Andrew and Matilda. Instead, I resolved to let them make their own arrangements for travel at their own expense. That evening, upon my return from work, I broached the topic of the Caribbean trip with Andrew. "Andrew, about the trip to the Caribbean." "Yeah, you've contacted the airline, right?" "Informing them that Mommy and I will be going," he interrupted. "I did make the call. Here are the winning documents and the tickets." "I only need the tickets. I won't bother with the documents," I explained, handing them over. "There are detailed instructions in those documents. Considering it's an international trip, it might be wise to give them a read," Andrew suggested cautiously. "I don't see the need. Mommy and I know what we're doing. We're efficient, unlike you," he asserted confidently. "Fine, whatever. I'll leave them here just in case," I relented, sensing it was futile to argue further. As I anticipated, Andrew neglected to read the documents, leading to a debacle on the day of the trip. After confirming his departure, I swiftly packed my bags and made my way to my parents' house. While unpacking as expected, I received a call from Andrew. As soon as I answered, he erupted, "What's going on?" "They're saying the ticket can't be used." "That's correct. If the winner doesn't travel, the ticket becomes void," I explained calmly. "Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" Andrew demanded, his tone accusatory. "I did tell you. Remember? It would have been wise to read the instructions," I reminded him. "You mean it was in those documents you gave me?" Andrew realized with frustration. "Exactly. It's your responsibility for not reading them," I replied matter-of-factly. "This is ridiculous. How are we supposed to get to the Caribbean?" Andrew panicked. "Well, the operator did mention that if the winner doesn't travel, you'd have to pay the full price," I informed him. "The full price?" Andrew exclaimed, clearly caught off guard. In the background, I could hear Matilda's voice, indicating they were both distressed. "Andrew, what did Lillian say?" Matilda's voice interjected. "Mommy, if Lillian doesn't have to pay for the trip," Andrew began, but I didn't catch the rest of his sentence as he handed the phone to Matilda. "They can sort it out themselves," I heard Andrew mutter before ending the call. After ending the call, it wasn't long before Andrew rang again. "Hello," I answered. "What's going on?" "I'm busy," Andrew snapped. "It's not what's going on. I tried to purchase the tickets, but the credit card isn't working," he exclaimed in frustration. "Huh? I don't know anything about your card," I responded, puzzled. "It's not mine. It's your card," he clarified. "Oh, so you're saying you used my card without my permission?" I realized with a sinking feeling. "Just fix it now," Andrew demanded impatiently. I recalled checking my wallet earlier that morning and discovering my card missing. Suspecting the worst, I immediately froze it. "I knew you took it," I accused. "Are you kidding me? I was planning to use that card for shopping abroad," Andrew retorted defensively. "Always causing problems, you jerk," I seethed with anger. "You freaking witch," Andrew fired back, showing no remorse for his actions or for taking the trip. It was yet another instance of him prioritizing himself above all else. I can't deal with this anymore, I declared, my frustration boiling over. A jerk? Who are you calling that? After constantly belittling others? You can just go to hell. Andrew shot back defensively. What? Who are you talking to like that? I countered sharply. Who do you think? Your constant reliance on mommy is honestly creepy. If you love her so much, why don't you two just stick together? I can't handle being married to a mama's boy like you. There's no point in us being together. I lashed out, my words dripping with disdain. Hey, calm down. If you keep this up, we'll get a divorce, Andrew warned. Fine by me. I've been thinking the same thing, I retorted, my anger flaring. With that, I stormed out of the house with no intention of returning. Let them enjoy their time abroad in the Caribbean. Maybe they'll both sink, they and mama's boy. In a fit of rage, I hung up and blocked both Andrew and his mother. Determined to end this toxic relationship, I sought legal advice from a firm recommended by my father and initiated the divorce process. Upon reviewing our savings for asset division, I made a startling discovery. Our joint account had been emptied. That was the shocking discovery I made upon reviewing our joint account. There were numerous withdrawals, all coinciding with Andrew's trips with his mother. It became evident that he had used our savings to fund their travels in addition to unauthorized charges on my credit card. Demanding compensation, I insisted on a significant sum. However, Andrew's financial situation quickly spiraled into debt, and he found himself hounded by creditors. The once indulged mother, now constrained by our actions, witnessed her relationship with Andrew sour, their interactions fraught with arguments. The irony wasn't lost on me, considering his past behavior. Meanwhile, I made the decision to reside with my parents for a period. Recognizing the concern I had caused, I was determined to repay their kindness by living with them and attending to their needs. Marriage held little appeal for me now. What truly mattered was the love and support of a caring family. Through the tumult of divorce, I found solace in this